Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In particular, welcome to PCP Movie Night. That's the show where we gather each week to discuss a movie. We pick the movie, we all watch it, and then we gather together and talk about it. And tonight, since we're in the midst of Crew's Choice still, I think we're doing... Is this our first animated film? It might be. It's definitely our first anime film. This is a Japanese animated film. We're talking about 2016's A Silent Voice Tonight, which is, of course, based on the manga series, and it is John Hammertime Holshoe's pick. So let's bring in Hammertime Holshoe. What is up, my man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. My name is Jonas, and I smell like Jack White. How about that?
And I found the beer from the concert. So everything's good, man. Everything's good. So, man, what an experience last week, right? With the show and running to Jack White and everything. What a crazy, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, just to recap, if anybody is watching this is not like really watching all of our shows or paying attention to us, we went and saw Weezer last week, and Jack White was sitting like right in front of us. Like Jack White was right in front of us watching Weezer. It was a surreal experience. And another surreal experience is doing our first anime film here tonight. And bruh, you picked a good one, but you picked a really fucking sad one, man.
It's sad, but it's a beautiful film. And I hope it's going to be one of many anime films. We need to do more anime films. There's some amazing films out there that I think we've kind of slept on, or maybe some of us in PCP have seen, but have not commented on. So I think I'd like to add more, to our movie reviews and talk about those great films, because I want people who normally don't watch anime or they think animation's for kids, they're missing out on these amazing films. There's some great stuff coming out of Japan, and they're just beautiful films. And this is one of those films. This is an amazing film.
We did a Comics Revisited one time on Akira, and I was thinking we should have done a movie night on Akira, then the comic book, right? Or whatever, in whatever order. But we didn't. And Akira is one of my favorite anime films. And dude, I'm glad you picked this one. This is a really sad and beautiful film. Speaking of sad and beautiful, it's Jelani. What is up, my man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Station. Yeah, this is man, Holshoe. I mean, there's tons of anime, man. You picked the saddest one. You had to go pick the saddest movie we got.
I don't think it's the saddest one. There's actually sadder films.
I mean, like,
but
we could be doing Ghost in the Shell right now, but instead we're going to be like fucking crying about fucking.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do Ghost in the Shell and Akira and stuff. There's other films we should be reviewing. There's more. We're gonna do more anime films. We need more anime films.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of more anime, this guy will agree with you. It's Brooks, the Shroom Master, the magnificent one himself. How you doing, Brooks?
What's up? We did Transformers the movie.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We did an animated film already. Yeah.
And Isle of Dogs would technically, I guess, be considered an animated movie as well.
Which one?
Isle of Dogs.
I thought you said All Dogs. I was like, we didn't do All Dogs Go to Heaven. I mean, I don't even remember.
We should. That's a great film.
Baby.
Let's do all the Down Blue stuff. I'm down.
Hey, don't worry. 2 weeks from now, we're doing our first French animated film here because of Joe fucking Corallo. So we'll see what happens there. So we have a friend, and I didn't realize this until this week, but he's never been on a PCP movie night. Long-time contributor to PCP, blog-wise, on the podcast. He's been on live streams with us, but this will be his first movie night. And when he found out we were doing this, he messaged me. He was like, bro, what the fuck? Y'all are doing this movie? I gotta be there. It's the one and the only dashing Drew Matson. What is up, Station?
What's up? How y'all doing?
We're doing great, man.
So what normally happens with movie nights, Jelani gives me like a list and make sure that he can have access to it. Wink, wink. And when I saw this, and I just saw like, because it wasn't even like the official movie poster, but I was like, but I recognized the two characters and was like, y'all are doing a fucking silent voice. It was like, let me in. It was the fucking Fiend. It was like, let me in. Let me like, because this is one of my favorite movies. This like it made me cry so damn much the first time I saw it. It is incredible.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Drew. My favorite thing is that, like, so, you know, on the PCP Army, the official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group, you should join us. Two Gun Pedro, you're here. Station, throw out a link to the PCP Army if you would, if you don't mind. I always change the banner to whatever the next movie we're going to cover is. And I changed the banner to a silent voice. And Drew's like, is it this week? You never told me what date it was, you know? So, like, I'm very excited that you're here, Drew. Thank you so much. And I'll send you the Action Fest list. So Jelani doesn't have to be the middleman. But I got the Action Fest list finalized. And you can go ahead and get started. Beverly Hills Cop Trilogy is in there. And I know we all have access to the Indiana Jones franchise. So anyway, a silent voice. John is going to be the expert, but usually I would be telling you like who did it and all this stuff. It's directed by what's her name? Noko Yamada. Is that the name, John?
Yeah, Naoko Yamada.
Okay, so this is a woman, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, and I really, really liked this movie on my watch. Right, I watched it maybe, I don't know if I watched it at the right time of my life or the wrong time of my life, but it did emotionally hit me. When I first started watching this movie, though, I paused. I'm halfway through this movie. I called John because of another thing. And John's like, yeah, well, have you watched Silent Voice yet? I'm like, I'm actually in the middle of it. Why is it so fucking long, bruh? Why is it so long, right? And he explained like it's like 6 or 7 like manga, right? That are adapted into
they condensed into a film. They did cut some stuff out. People complained, some character development got dropped, but I'm happy they made it to a film because I think it's an amazing film.
Absolutely. And Two Gun Pedro, thank you so much for that link to the PCP Army on Facebook. All right. I really liked this film. I liked it a lot. I thought that the animation was pretty spectacular. Thought it was really well done. It is an incredibly nuanced film as well for being an animation. Like, we all know that like some people like to overact and chew up scenery and all this kind of jazz and all that kind of bullshit, right? For instance, Jason Momoa in Fast X, which is coming to digital and streaming very soon. But if not now, y'all should watch it. Like, this movie, for being an animated movie, and what I usually associate with anime, with most of the stuff I see, is it always seems over exaggerated, right?
Oh yeah,
like everything's just like, because it's animated. It's like watching a Power Rangers. Like, you just got to have the motion. You got to have this is one of the most subtle, nuanced animated films I've ever fucking seen. I think on a technical level, it is damned brilliant. I think on a structure level, it runs a little bit long, right? A little bit slow in some places. I love the music, though. I love the voice. Now, I'm not one of. If this was a Dario Argento film, I'd probably watch the Italian and the English dub. But I would just watch the English dub for this one, right? So I don't know about the voice acting on the Japanese side, but I enjoyed the voices, the acting. I enjoyed the tone of this film. I thought it was actually incredibly well done, and it might be one of the best animated films I've ever seen because it reaches on some deep themes that we'll be getting into later. It dives into the human experience and the human condition in a very subtle and nuanced way. John, you killed it. I fucking loved this movie. I thought it was great. So Hammertime Holshoe, why don't you tell us about this movie overall? Obviously, you love it enough to pick it for your cruise choice.
I do love it. It's one of my favorite films, and not just favorite anime film. It's one of my favorite films. I put up in my top 5 of all my favorite films. It's done wonderfully well. Nako Yamato, she actually works for Kyoto Animation, the studio. They did one of my favorite studios. My probably 2 favorites are probably Sunrise, who does Gundam and did Cowboy Bebop and such, and Kyoto, which is Kyoto Animation is a much smaller company, a much younger company.
Sunrise even did some of the Batman animated.
Yeah, they did some of the Batman. They did Inuyasha. Sunrise is big studio though, with the backing of Bandai. In comparison, Kyoto Animation is a very small studio, but they did stuff. They did some of the Full Metal Panic stuff. They did K-On!, which is my favorite anime. I love Kyoto Animation. I think they're an amazing studio, but they're very, very tiny. That recently suffered terrible tragedy with a fire at the studio where they lost some lives, but it's just an amazing studio who can make some amazing stuff. And Silent Voice is no exception. I think the translated would be the shape of voice in Japanese, or really pattern, the word they use is sort of a pattern. Silent Voice doesn't really they didn't feel comfortable how it translated to English, so they changed it to a Silent Voice. I think the original name kind of works, but the word they use for pattern and shape doesn't really translate. Anyway,
I like a silent voice. It says shape of voice at the end of the movie. I like a silent voice better.
I think shape of voice sounds really good because a lot of the movie is kind of about, what's her name? Shoko. Like the way she experiences shit. Like I have recently met a lot of people in the deaf community locally, and I've gone to some deaf meets and shit. And I don't know sign language, right? I want to learn it. Like I really do. I know how to, I know the alphabet. I know like who, what, why, where, when, and how, and all that kind of shit. But like, I want to learn more of it. But like one thing I learned when I was at these deaf meets, like these meetups, like I just sense the emotion. You know what I'm saying? And they do a really great job of showing us the impact of like vibration, right? Like sound is more than just audible, right? Like the idea of the fireworks and why that means something. And they just do a really great job of kind of like diving into what it's like as an experience for people that most of us don't experience that, right? Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a tangent.
Yeah, I actually was reading a thing recently about a person who recently got their sound. Like they couldn't hear their whole life. And they had a surgery, and more recently they could hear. And they were mostly surprised by the fact that the sun made no sound. It just emitted light. They just expected there'd be some sort of sound from the sun. I thought that was the most interesting thing, that, you know, you take for granted things that could make a sound you're oblivious to, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? That's
actually a very like bittersweet and really happy thing to think about. Like that a deaf person who all of a sudden can hear is disappointed that the sun doesn't make a sound. Imagine if every day the sun's just like,
get the fuck up.
The Rick and Morty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
or he's just up there like the fucking Raisin Bran mascot. Like, who wants 2 scoops of raisins, everybody?
We were talking about that at the Weezer concert. They had that big sun. We're like, oh, it's a Raisin Bran advertisement. I think the movie's done beautifully well. I think from showing her point of view and the struggle she goes through, and sort of, I mean, they've touched on it in other movies and films and shows and stuff, being deaf, but I never really, I don't know, I guess I really didn't understand as much as I did in this film. And it really is, the animation is just phenomenal. And I think that was one of the reasons they did a film versus a series. Is the films, there was potential box office money, so they could spend more money, because in theory they could earn the money back. So they had a bigger budget, and it paid off tenfold, because the animation is beautiful.
It did, stunning. But I do know that this movie kind of got overshadowed a little bit by Your Name?
Your Name came out the same year. Yeah. But the director of Your Name, who's an accomplished director, he's gone on to do many things. He even like talked about like how great the film was, and he couldn't make a film like that, and how he was just blown away by the film. It probably would have been done better had it not been head to head with Your Name, which is a great film, but they're different types of films.
Yeah,
but they're both beautiful. Have you seen Your Name yet?
No, I have not.
That's going to be one on the list. I think we're going to have to review it at some point.
bring me back again.
We might bring back Drew. We might, spoiler alerts, but might bring Drew back.
We might do your name and we might bring Drew back. We might give Drew a cruise choice as well. Then we're doing fucking 2 anime movies next summer. I like what you were saying there, man. It's a really solid film, and the animation is so good. And knowing some of that background of the animation studio, I didn't put that together and all that kind of shit. So I think it's actually a rather phenomenal film. Now, Jelani, this was your first time watching it as well. What did you think about this one, my brother? What did you think about A Silent Voice?
Well, it's the first time I've seen it. Oh, yes. And I loved it. The animation is gorgeous. I love the talking about my generation. I love that whole beginning area, and I kind of guessed where the story was going after that song played. He was just making his final run, and it's about like suicide. It's about friendship. It's about breaking of trust. It's a whole bunch of just random things all together, and it goes together well. It is a little long for what it is, and it's sad for what it is. It was very sad.
It's too sad to be too long. It's too sad to be so long.
You can't be this long and be this sad. And you're just like, it's like watching like I don't know, a puppy take its last breath, and like you're waiting for the end, and it's terrible, and it's like that feeling. And
there are way sadder anime films, and at least this one has a great ending. There are sadder anime films that have sad endings. This one at least wraps it up and gives you a happy ending. There's some films we can review that just leave you just sad. Like that was the fucking ending, and you just like crying
movies that just leave you fucking broken and in shambles.
Yes, there are anime films like this. This isn't one of those. I think there's some sad parts, but I think there's some elevated parts, and I think that you walk away with like, I don't know, man. There's not a lot of films I watch anymore where I feel different after a film. I've come desensitized in life, but this is one of those films when I first saw it, I felt different afterwards. Like I'm saying,
fuck yeah, life changing, right?
It is, and it's such a like. It's bittersweet, like the entire time. Like you're happy for certain things, and then the grandma dies, and I'm like, crap! It's just like so many just compiled things, and it's told well because it's life, and it's especially life in that part of the world where suicide is very high, and it's just very almost commonplace. So like when Shoyo. Was it Shogo?
Shoko is the woman. Shoya is the boy.
Shoya.
Yeah, that's not fucking confusing at all, right? No.
Yeah.
Well, they usually use their last names through most of the film.
Yeah.
It's like our two main characters are Adam and Adim. What?
Yeah.
What?
And we're supposed to know which one is which. But it's the fact that it's set up that way, and that's what I saw. And then at the end, it's like bookended by her like doing it. And in between, it's because of misunderstandings and the fact that people need to adjust to certain things. And another thing I wanted to mention, why did you just put her in a deaf class? There weren't just a deaf class that she could go to and then like reacclimate, or did her mom just be like, hey, she needs to be regular kid?
I think there weren't a lot of in that area deaf schools, but it also touches on the fact that their schools, public schools in general, aren't well at handling people with disabilities.
No.
I think that was they're trying to reflect
the teacher's
that.
a fucking he's worthless.
Yeah.
The teacher's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Wait, I mean that's a good point, because like I know I remember in high school and elementary and primary, all that kind of shit. But like I remember there being like special ed, but like one of the ideas is that like she has no learning disability. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like it is like, I don't know, man. Like we should actually in this country pay teachers more and maybe teach them shit like ASL and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I agree. But it's a shame, man. But that girl was treated so poorly, like on every level, and she technically didn't try to give up until like he came back into her life. and all these people started coming back in. She was happy, but it wasn't enough. There's a lot of nuance in this story.
Yeah.
It's so many things you can pull from it. So I enjoyed it for what it was, but damn it, John. What the crap, man? That's all I got to say. Damn.
All right, Brooks, this was your first time watching it. You're a big fan of anime, so I'm curious to know, what did you think about A Silent Voice?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot, actually. Like, I wasn't sure like how I was gonna feel about it first, because like it's an anime movie, but it's not like an action anime. It's like a slice of life thing. But I liked it I liked it a lot, actually. I love the characters in this movie are really good, I think, and like it very much feels like and it feels real. It feels like something that could have happened. Like it feels like somebody could have taken this, like it could have been somebody's like life story or something. And like the first 10-15 minutes movie, I was thinking like, what is this kid's fucking problem, dude? This fucking kid is such a dickhead. It's like, what is your fucking deal, man? And like they never really tell you. Like it kind of implies that he was bullied a little too when he first showed up. But like he's so fucking like
he's they're like in 6th grade or something when this at the beginning of that, like the sequence you're talking about,
elementary.
Right?
That's
They're
elementary
kids.
school for
They're dumb
Japan
kids.
up until 6th grade.
Yeah, so that means he's like 11 years old, right? And do you remember how you were at 11 years old? I remember how I was at 11 years old. I was a fucking shit, bro.
I was about to say I was a shithead. Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, but I mean, like even so, like it's like how later on in the film he's talking to the guy with the red hair. He was like, yeah, what kind of dicks would like pick on a deaf kid? And it's like, yeah.
This guy gets it.
Right.
I just want everybody to know when I say I was a shit when I was 11, I didn't pick on deaf kids or anything. Like I didn't do that. Like I'm just saying I was shit. We're not formed. We're not formed at all. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just like what's most impactful. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. And what I love about this movie is that most of these movies follow the one who is bullied, right? And in this one, we follow the bully. But the bully who becomes the bullied and then winds up really fucking detached, sad, anxious.
It interferes with his ability to interact with people.
Yeah.
Like he's so ashamed of himself that he can't look people in the face.
And that's one of the things I love. It's about a dude who bullied somebody so bad that it negatively affected their life in a very early stage, right? So like diving into that is a very interesting. So he could have just been the stereotypical bully that has to get what's coming to him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But this movie does not cast judgment on any of its characters. Even Mickey, right? Or Miki, right? Like even those characters, their actions, what they do, we can justify it. We can understand it. This movie cares more about understanding than it cares about like comeuppance. It's not trying to be Tales from the Crypt or Creep Show. You know what I'm saying? Any other thoughts, Brooks?
That'll do.
That'll do, donkey. All right, Drew, you basically begged to be on this one tonight. So why do you like this movie so much? What do you think about it overall?
I think it is both. Like it is structurally brilliant, just the way that it follows the bullied, and it starts off with him attempting to kill himself, and then flashes like back to that with talking with Bob O'Reilly playing, and then that's a very upbeat song leading to some horrific behavior, proving that children are the devil. And you see this kid who doesn't start off doing anything bad, but little by little, and and the thing that I love about this movie, there are excellent like visual tricks and like visual cues that it uses. Because in the school era, I don't know what the hell I'm calling it era, but you see him like just observing, like you'll see like a shot of him like watching the little girl being bullied by other people he knows and other friends, and seeing that it's okay and people are laughing. And so you see this guy start to do it from then on, and he takes it further, and other people are still laughing. And then like this fucking horrific child ripping like several $1,000s worth of hearing aids out of this to the point where it leaves a scar on her ear. Like that's I was like, bro, like, and like the little girl for Nauka, the black-haired girl from grade school to adult is the shithead. Like does not like you are the worst. And just could not like sees this deaf girl that she bullied and be like, hey, you want to play catch with her hearing aids again?
Yeah,
And
she doesn't mature. She starts off shitty. She stays a shitty person.
Yeah, it like, but
Wait, what's the name of that character?
Uno is her last name.
Nauka is her first name.
That's not Mickey.
No, Mickey is
No.
glasses, blonde hair,
Mickey's the
pigtails.
blonde girl.
The class rep.
Pigtails.
Yeah, class rep.
Okay,
And then she takes her hair off and takes the glasses off. You changed your outfit. You changed your hair.
Yeah. And it's Toshi's girlfriend. Remember, Toshi's the redheaded guy that befriends him later on.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant movie. It's probably my favorite movie that deals with depression because it is incredibly accurate. Holy shit. And shows several things about why children are the devil and like the problems with connecting if you are depressed and stuff like that. I love it so much.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get into the cast, the performances. And some of us may have watched the English dub. Some may have watched the Japanese dub. It doesn't matter. What is a character that you want to highlight, a performance, John? Let us know.
I would say the actress that actually... I watched the Japanese version, but the actress that played Shoko wasn't actually deaf. They cast a deaf person for the English version. But they mentioned it in the chat earlier. It was the actress is I think her name is Saori Hayami, and she actually plays one of my favorite characters, which is Shinobu in the Demon Slayer show. She's my favorite of the Demon Slayers.
Your
yeah,
Forger.
And of course she's your Forger in the Spy X family. She does a phenomenal job at, I really didn't know till later on that it wasn't a deaf. I just assumed they hired a deaf actress. You know what I'm saying? Because the way she talks and stuff, the way she struggles, and I'm sure it was the same way in the English. The way it was kind of monotone and definitely has trouble pronouncing things or the way she says things. So I'm hoping it translates well. But I watched the Japanese version, but overall, the whole voice cast is just phenomenal. It's really, and I'm assuming they didn't cut corners on the American dub or the English dub, but the Japanese dub is I can't say enough about it. And give it a chance. If you enjoyed it, rewatch it some point in Japanese because it's beautifully done in Japanese. My only complaint would be there's some a lot of this writing in the notebook and on the blackboard isn't translated at all. And that would be a problem for some. I know some Japanese, and so I can pause it and read most of it. But for other people, that would be a difficult watching the original. I'm saying watching it with like subtitles. I'm assuming it's probably translated for the English people, the English version.
It's so
version that works.
Yeah. That is translated, especially like text messages and stuff like that. That is translated. I did find it interesting that in nothing that I could find, the sign language is not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Actually, they should.
Well, they talked about it and talked through it, and I'm wondering if that was a creative decision, like just making it that much harder to understand and how much of a boon it was.
Yeah. Well, in Japanese they do that.
Or Japanese sign language.
Yeah, the Japanese version they do the sign language, and they you can tell if she understands or doesn't understand. You know what I'm saying? Or the character will say, "Oh, you're saying this or saying that."
Yeah, so that's what they do in English.
They want the audience to be in the same boat as the characters are going through, either understanding or misunderstanding. Especially when Choco says "Suki," which is like, but it comes up as "ski," which is moon, and he's like, "Moon," and she's saying something about the moon, because the way she pronounced it. And in the Japanese version, I don't know in the English when she first confesses she's got a crush on him. I don't know how it translated
she says I love you, but because she's deaf, it comes out because she has no experience talking that much. It's like it comes. She says I love you, and she's like, it sounds. And she's like, did you say moon? Yeah, right.
See, the Japanese makes more sense since Suki and Ski are so close. You know what I'm saying? Are much closer, and yeah.
So you went with Shoku, is what you're saying?
Shoka. Yeah, right. The voice actress played Shoka, which I think the character itself, and I realized that she's almost the B character, or Shoko, I'm sorry, is her name. She's almost the B character in her own movie. You know what I'm saying? It's clearly about Shoya, but Shoka is the best part of the film, and you know the reason he gets his redemption, and everything. And I think, but the whole voice cast is just phenomenal.
Nice. All right. What about you, Jelani? What's a character you want or a performance you want to highlight?
I'm gonna take like the little, and I found his name finally. I'm gonna take Kensho. That was the little green-haired kid. That was like, we're friends.
Oh yeah, and the little fat kid who's like grows a mustache.
Tomohiro, right?
Mustache.
Yeah, he's Tomohiro, top tier, like fat best friend character. Yeah, like that trope. So good.
Yeah, he's pretending to use it like a cigar.
Yeah.
Shows up in the Hollywood shirt with the jeans at the hospital.
Yeah, I love it. Shane, like he was set up, man. I love that little character, man. He was like a dirty ball of life. He's like the happiest person in this movie. Everybody is like show you. God dang it, the main character. Like everyone when he's berating everyone, he's like, you don't mean it, and I'll go away. And
he stands up for him like, regardless if he's being shitty to him.
And then found him in the bathroom. Yeah, and he's like, he finds him in the bathroom and like runs to him. It's just so cute. He's just like the cutest little ball of like happiness. I love it so. And he was a good bright spot movie because everybody else is sad. Jesus. There, I'm done. That was beautiful.
All right. What about you, Brooks? What's the character / performance you want to highlight?
I like the little sister character. Like, you know, and they do the thing where they do in a lot of animes where, like, you know, everybody mistakes her, just assumes that she's a boy at first.
Yeah.
Because of the way she dresses and everything, and the way she talks. But yeah, I liked her. I love her arc of, you know, she's a photographer. She's a very creative, and like, and you see early on in the movie, you see her like she sees a dead frog laying on the sidewalk, and she stops and she takes a picture, and you're like, what's up with that? And then like later on, you actually get payoff for that. Like, and with the whole like collage she has, like, of showing, like, I want to show her, like, you know, what death is like, so she doesn't want to kill herself.
Yeah, she takes a lot of morbid photos for sure.
Yeah, and she also she has the interesting, like, the arc of, like, you know, starting to wear her school uniform, you know, like trying to I guess to fit in more, like, because she seems like someone who's like kind of an outcast, doesn't feel like she belongs necessarily. Like, you know, early on in the movie, she runs away from home. But yeah, I liked her character a lot. I think she was probably like the one that stood out for me the most. And like, even the whole deal of her, you know, her parents like entering her photography in the contest, you know.
Yeah.
And like this idea, like, it's, you know, sometimes, like, even if you are like a good artist, like sometimes a good artist will like downplay their own work, like, my work's not that good. And it takes somebody else, you know, stepping in and, like, you know, believing in you, and to finally get you to, you know, accept that maybe you are, you know, maybe your art is worth something.
Fuck yeah. Yuzuru is her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great character. One I was thinking about picking, Brooks, so fuck you. Anyway, Drew. What about you? What's a cast member, a performance you want to?
And why is it Uno?
Oh my god, that dickhead. I really enjoyed, because you were talking about how in the Japanese version it is not a deaf woman who portrays Shoko, but in English she is a deaf woman, and that for me, when stuff like that happens, that hits harder. because it's like it was no way like this woman was clearly deaf, and like that was Lexi Cowden is her name, and she doesn't do a lot of voice acting for obvious reasons, but she did incredibly well. And Robbie Damon as Shoya was awesome, but he's a big star voice actor and been acting for like a decade and like he's like Spider-Man in a few Marvel cartoons and like a leading role in tons of animes, so I knew he was going to crush it, but he did incredibly well, showing a ton of emotion.
Hell yeah. My pick would be is it Shoya, right? That's the like
Shoya, yeah.
Shoya.
Main
Like,
character.
We're introduced to him when he's trying to commit suicide, right?
Yeah.
And then we flash back, and then all of a sudden we think, what a piece of shit this guy is, right? And then we catch back up, we get some things, and the performance and the way it's written really blows me away. I also want to majorly shout out his mother. I love her in this film, right?
Awesome.
Like,
And she was my backup.
yeah, right. Like when she finds out that he's been bullying, what's her name again? Shogo.
Choco.
Also a ball of light.
Yeah, but she's like, one of the things I really like is she goes,
Suko.
"You'll be a better boy tomorrow," right? And I think one of the themes of this movie is that you can change any day. Any day you can decide to be better, you know. And I think that she illuminates that, like you said, Jelani. She's light, right? She's a spot of light in this movie. She is the illuminator, and we all need illuminators in our lives.
She eliminated that money.
Oh my god, yeah. Also,
Some men just want to watch the world burn, Master Wayne.
incredibly cute granddaughter too.
Yeah, no shit.
You should have picked
Yeah,
the sister
yeah.
that we don't see.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this you never see. You see her husband.
You see her
you don't
husband.
yeah.
You see her kid all the time.
First time I was like, huh, Maria, that's odd. And it was like, oh, he's clearly a U.S. soldier.
That sounds like Fast and Furious for the last few movies.
Yeah.
Where there's like we see a spouse and kid, but we don't see the anyway. R.I.P. Paul Walker. All right,
All right.
style and structure. What do you think, Hammertime?
I don't know what any of that means.
I think it's done really well. Just like I actually like the pacing. I know again they were adapting 7 mangas to a film, but I think the pacing's done well. I really like the structure. I think everything's put together well. I think the themes are there. I think we get introduced to the characters. We need to be introduced to the characters. I do like the beginning where it's sort of backward. You start off about to commit suicide, but then you kind of backtrack, but then you come to the current present. I really do like it. And you do see a lot of, we were talking about this when we were talking about High Fidelity, when he's like going through his past and looking at those relationships. And I'm like, oh, he's kind of a shitty person. He kind of glossed over that one girl that he hurt. He doesn't, I enjoyed the film, but he doesn't grow as a character. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of growth for Shoya in this film of being a person who's trying to basically, I'm going to make amends before I off myself to basically, well, he already made the amends and then things start building from there for the better. I just like the structure. I think the whole thing is done really well. I don't think there's any lulls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it ever dips or I don't know, man. Everything's, I think, done incredibly well.
What do you think about the animation?
I think the animation's phenomenal. It's Kyoto Animation. I knew it was going to be great. Kyoto, I'm telling you, they watch K-On! Because it's the same director. It was a series about these girls who form a band in high school, and it's amazing. Great music, but it's also hilarious. But there's also like some heartwarming parts. But it's a great show, and that's one of Kyoto's big, successful, franchises.
All right. Jelani, my friend, what do you think about the style and structure of A Silent Voice?
I gotta disagree with John for the pace. It is like you could tell this story, and you could tell the story in bits that you understand. And I know it's a large manga. I know that they were saying it's 7 volumes long. It's really long, and to put it in a 2-hour kind of 20-minute movie, kind of like that, that's fine.
2 hours
That's
and
fine.
9 fucking
I
minutes.
think you could have cut
2
some.
hours and 9 minutes.
2 and 9 minutes. Okay.
It was
some of
longer
that
than
out.
Next
Cut a
Machina,
little
man.
bit of that out.
It's longer than Next
Yeah.
Machina.
Yep. And Ex Machina was just like, screw you, I'm leaving. And this is, I mean, and you had to get some of the nuance. I don't know about all the friends that were there. I don't know. It just felt like you could have trimmed some of that fat. Like the friend that was there to help Shogo at the beginning, she disappears. Like she goes to another school.
Oh,
and
Sahara.
You catch up with her later. I like that. But for something about the other classmates, I don't know. I mean, there are pieces, there are people. Some things could have been cut down a little bit, I think, because I think the two main characters would suffice with a crew, but not as many people. Because like the grandmother part, which I'm sure is in the manga. I mean, honestly, you could have cut that out. And it's sad, it's heart wrenching, it's whatever. But it was kind of like she was thrown in for this movie. She was just like, hey, this is the grandma sweet. Tells her, she tells the hey, everything's gonna be fine. You believe in all these things, and you feel for her, and she's not there often, but then she's gone. And that's it. You get the funeral, and I'm like, what? You just showed her like 2 seconds. So it's like killing your darling.
I think the grandmother's death was kind of like part of the motivation for the suicide attempt later.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
and also part of the reason why Shoya started really pressing towards reconnection, right? Like really pressing towards it. It was a reason. It was a way that he was able to be there for her. And then I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I actually don't mind that. I mean, I get half of what you're saying because you were T-paining us during some of that. But
I'm not. Yeah.
Oh no!
I don't know what's going on with his connection. But...
He's doing the bit.
Wow.
All right.
Am I doing the bit now? Yeah. Never mind.
All right, Brooks. What do you think about the style and structure of this film, my friend?
I think it's good. Like, it is very for an anime. Like, even like most animes, there are tropes that are in it. Like, kind of goofy things that kind of. But this movie is very much, it sticks to what it is. Like, it doesn't try to throw too much like that of the goofy over the top humor or anything. It's like a very grounded movie. It's very it's serious, like, but not in like not like a joyless way. Like, I think this movie does have a lot of joy to it, and it does have sadness too, but I don't think it's really as sad as as a lot of you guys probably think it is. Like,
well, we all came in and I was like, "Oh, it's a super sad film, this and that." But like, you're right. Like,
it does have very sad parts of it.
It does, but that's life, right? I mean, that's life. So like, that's part of the grounded nature that you were speaking of, is that it does not shy away from like truly dark things. And one of the things I love is that through the style of this film, the way it's animated, the way it's put together, like those moments, like Shoko, her suicide attempt is not shown in an exploitative way, right? It's shown like as a very private and very serious moment. And we see it from Shoya.
Yeah, as he goes to get the camera.
Yeah. So I like elements of that, man, for sure. And like Cryro is saying here, it is more emotional than sad, but some of us are not always very like willing to be brought through the emotional wrecker while watching a fucking animated film. You know what I'm saying? But I get what you're saying.
I didn't feel like it was too long either. Like, at first when I saw it was like over 2 hours, I was like, oh man. But when I watched it, I didn't feel like it dragged or anything at all. Really, I was really invested in it. So
okay,
like, Robbie, there were parts where like certain characters felt like they didn't have like they got cut back. Like the redheaded kid, and then like later on in the movie you see the brother-in-law just pop up out of nowhere for like a few seconds. But they do have like. At least the redhead kid, he does have his part to play in it as well. It just seems like, maybe he had more in like the the full story.
I think Robbie's issue is he's so used to these short, mediocre horror films, and then he's got time to read his 90s
Right.
90s
So he's
X-Men
watching
comics.
garbage slashers.
Yeah, so he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta read this 90s X-Men comic that I don't want to fucking read, but I gotta read it. So it's cutting into my viewing versus if I watched, Screamers, I could be back.
John's been paying attention to PCP.
You're saying he wants his 120 minutes of or 100 hour and 20 minutes of trash back.
Yeah, I want 86 minutes of sleaze, and then I want to be able to read some bullshit Rob Liefeld comic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
90s and
Fuck
80s
yeah,
to a
man.
T.
Now, I just came off of 2 really cerebral movies, Possessor, that I did on Verno's channel, Blood Splatter Chatter, and Ex Machina. Those were 2 very cerebral movies that clocked in less than an hour and 50. So,
But how much did you cry in those movies?
I didn't cry at all in those movies. I teared up a couple times in this one, but I don't know. It could have been my personal emotional state, man. I don't know if this was the right or the wrong movie for me to watch this week, but it happened, and I guess I'm glad it did. Drew, what do you think about the style and the structure of this film?
So structurally, I think if you said it was a little, the thing that, and I noticed it more on rewatches. I've watched it at least 3 times over the years because it's been out for a while. The thing that can make it feel a little long is that there are step backs in their relationships, which is just life, and especially like living in depression. Like that's. Like sometimes it's like you feel like everything's okay, and then fucking boom, you're like, oh fuck me, I gotta get down in the ball, and just like nothing is okay. Talking about I love their stylistically. There were a ton of visual tricks and stuff, like the big messy X's over everybody's eyes that he cannot look in the eye, and that he just has no connection to, and
that's something
an incredible cue. Like,
yeah,
incredible
that's a visual thing they pull from the manga that they actually make work in this in the film visually.
It looks incredible, and like the especially in certain like high stressful conversations, you'll see the camera like no longer looking at the characters, you'll see the environment, and that's something like when you think about incredibly stressful situations and everything, you don't always remember the person's face. You'll remember like their shoes, you remember like just the where you were in situations like that, and that's like a really cool visual thing that they do. And like they don't stuff that they show but don't really go into. It's like why was the grandmother with Shoko at the doctor? It's because because there's not a lot of talking about that scene or whatever. It's because the doctor says it's like you don't have any, there's no capacity to hear in that right ear anymore. So that's from then on. And when the bitch grabs the Nauka, the black hair, that she's horrible. She grabs the one who's like, oh, only one hearing aid. When she steals the hearing aid, it's like because she only has capacity to hear a little bit in that one ear, and it's the impetus for her to like change her hair and try and confess, because it may be the only time that she can hear him say "I love you" back.
Yeah.
And
Damn, that's sad.
yeah. So and then he botches it because he can't hear it, because he, oddly enough, he did not understand or hear, and that's what was like, fuck.
Yeah,
that's a step back.
I think the style of this film is beautiful. I think it's filmed, or not filmed, I guess. It's animated in such a way that is so good, and so much meticulous care placed towards the framing. You alluded to this, Drew, where they would like move off of someone's face during certain scenes, because when they're trying to convey this sense of what it's like to be going through this, right? Mm-hmm. And in a lot of this film, we got the X's, we got that muffled, almost underwater sound that we get, like the Shoya. Yeah, Shoya gets, because he's disconnected from people visually and audibly. You know what I'm saying? And it's for a different reason, but they show that and make us feel that in certain areas, and I think that's incredibly well done. they frame things to make us feel more isolated. They shift the framing. They make it more claustrophobic, more open on the wrong side, things like that. It adds to this feeling of disconnection and isolation, which I think are part of the themes of this movie. Structurally, I do think it goes on just a tad too long. Some of it could have been tightened up a little bit. That's the only thing I really got to say about this movie, is that I just think it could have been tightened up a little bit. I think this movie could have come in and at an hour 50 and it would have been just fine. Especially since you have the manga to back it up. You know what I'm saying? Manga, you read that, you watch the movie, it's a different thing, but it's truncated or something like that. But I don't know. The music is fucking phenomenal in this film, man. It's mostly this like isolated, just solo piano, one note at a time type thing. But then it goes into this almost ambience at times. It does so much incredible stuff with the sound design. The music in this film is so, like, we were talking about this film being nuanced. The fucking music is 100%. They do not go over the top at trying to convey certain things. They do a very subtle job of bringing us into the atmosphere and the vibe and the flow and the feel of the characters through the music. What do you think about the music, John? And carry on the conversation for me, please.
It is phenomenal. It's one of the greatest soundtracks. It's done really well. It's very subtle at times, but it works. It's beautiful soundtrack. It's one of the best soundtracks I think of any film. It just works so well, man. It does I don't know. There's strings and everything, but most of it's just piano, and it works well. It's one of the, other than, I think there's 2 licensed songs. Beyond that, it's, I think, original compositions, but it's beautiful. It works. I mean, it works because it's a visual treat, but also musically, it just adds so much to the film and gives you so much more. I don't know, just the cues, everything with the music. The music is phenomenal. Holy crap, the music's good. What do you think of the music in this, Jelani?
Yeah, I agree. It does take you there. It's one of those sound. I guess the score just takes you to another level as far as how you're supposed to feel in that moment. I was gonna say another thing too. The roller coaster ride. I really like. First of all, that was in my structure part, but I love that part. But I love the music that went with that.
Yeah, the more upbeat.
The upbeat.
Yeah, he's with those friends and everything. It's definitely more. Yeah.
Yeah, and it tells the story as well. Like it. But once again, it's so depressing. Like it goes with these scenes, very masterfully though. I'm not really. I don't have any real complaints about the music at all. It's great.
I'd say K-On! Same director did the K-On! Series, and the music in that is phenomenal. Of course, it's about a female rock band in high school. Of course,
it has to be.
But man, oh man, that's that whole show, and not just the and that's Kyoto Animation, the same director. Not only the actual songs they sing and play, but the actual music used in the background and everything else. That show has just phenomenal music as well. So check it out for sure.
Are you the only one that's gone so far, John?
Oh, Jelani just spoke. I guess Brooks, what do you think about the music in the film?
I like the music in this film. It's it's piano mostly. And like a lot of the soundtrack of this movie, I can just imagine was written by someone sitting in a house with huge windows while rain is pouring down, and they're just tinkling away on the piano. Yeah. I think it fits this movie though. It does. It's subdued, but it's still there. You still feel it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think if you ever do an album, Robbie, another album, it should just be called "It's Piano Mostly."
On a sad day,
like the cover is
raining. On a sad
window with rain dripping down,
and it's just bing
and just playing.
All right, Drew, what do you think, bro?
Well, as soon as I finished watching and crying at the ending scene, I immediately on Spotify found the soundtrack and added the ending scene, the piano into the it's lit in parentheses var. That's added that, and it actually came up on my Spotify shuffle this week, and I was like, "This is perfect." It's so good. Just that whole soundtrack is awesome. But then again, the person who did the music for this movie has done a bunch of really, really good anime. They did Devilman Crybaby. They did Space Dandy. They did Chainsaw Man. Like they are an A-list composer.
So was this movie nominated for Best Animated Film?
No.
It wasn't even nominated, right? Yeah, it was not even nominated, William says. And Zootopia won Best Animated Film at the Academy Awards that year. I haven't seen Zootopia, so I don't want to speak out of context, but like that sounds like bullshit to me right there, man.
Not as good as this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Brooks and Delaney are like
better than Zootopia.
Connoisseurs of film. They're like, we've seen Zootopia.
There's better memes about Zootopia than better movies.
All right. I love the music in the film. I think it's really, really solid. This movie, though, has a lot of themes, a lot of things that one could pull out of it. And some are very obvious and some are not so obvious. But I think for the most part, it's just underneath the nose. It's not on the nose, but it's just underneath. I think anybody can really watch this movie and get what it's trying to say. But that's subjective to us here. We get
movie's like a mustache. It's just underneath the nose.
Exactly. A silent voice, an action thrill movie with lots of laughs. But,
in a world.
But what's art is subjective, and one of my favorite things about this bit, the theme bit, is that we all pull different things out of these movies. So, Hammertime Holshoe, what is this movie speaking to you?
Well, obviously, it touched on the bullying and how terrible bullying is, and you know the results of bullying. And then we talked earlier a little bit about how it shows how schools in both Japan and America and other places, I'm sure as well, aren't so adept at incorporating these people with disabilities into the classroom. Like the teacher didn't handle it well when she was being bullied. They didn't, it was not till later on that the person showed up and said, hey, we're going to try to teach people sign language to assist Shoko. And so there's that. There's talk about that. But one thing that stuck out to me was the suicide thing. So when Shoya was going to kill himself, it's because he felt he was a terrible person. Nobody cared about him. He wasn't wanted in this world. And so he was going to kill himself. She wants to kill herself for a different reason. She wants to kill herself because she feels she's a burden. She feels that she is the reason that bad things happen to him. So that really made me think about suicide in a different way. I think of, people being depressed and killing themselves, or, them losing a loved one and then, not being able to go on. And that there are many reasons, but people feel a reason to kill themselves. And I think that brings the light that there are, you can't always interpret what the reason that people think they don't belong or they should kill themselves. You know what I'm saying? There's different, that hit me a little bit harder than anything else. And, but yeah, the bullying definitely. And, I do think there's a good message though, that you can reform. He went from being this bully to obviously he wasn't doing these things because he was trying to win favor. He was just trying to make amends before he left. You know what I'm saying? He was going to kill himself. So his idea wasn't to befriend her and then, have a friendship with her, a life with her. His idea was to, again, make amends. So I do like the fact that he came around, he grew a lot as a character, seeing things from her perspective, and then, reconnecting with friends, making new friends. And he did feel guilty about that though, when they're at the theme park. He's having fun. He's like, am I supposed to be having fun and being happy? Is this happiness? Am I allowed to have this? So there's, he still had this great doubt in his mind that he was a terrible person and he didn't have the right to be happy. So there's different themes and a lot of different emotions, I think, in the film. And you think there's a lot to learn from the film.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Jelani? What's this movie speaking to you?
I don't know. It's like it is a lot of themes. It's like the breakdown of friendship, because like these friends that were in elementary school together and they stuck by each other until this girl showed up and they decided, we're going to pick on her and things like that. And then all of a sudden he's the main bully because he wants to do these things, and it turns out poorly when he's caught and he snitches, and it hurts the friend group to the point where he's an outcast at this point. And yes, at that point he wants to kill himself. All these things come up, man, and suicide is the biggest for me. And it's just like, it's so temporary for, this temporary problem. What is it? You do a permanent thing for a temporary problem.
Oh yeah, permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Permanent solution, and it's very sad. And I've had people in my life do that, and a lot of people have, and it touches you. And to start a movie like that, what the crap? Making amends. I knew exactly what he was doing. It's like, slow down, man. And it just felt like it was going to happen, and then we just pick up later. I didn't know how this movie was going to go, but it went in a direction, and it's positive. It goes to that level of, you can find redemption. There are layers to people, like Shrek. There's an onion, and under each onion is a layer, and you find layers of people. You have shades of gray. You have shades of a lot of things, black and white. It's just so, the damn movie's so nuanced. Oh my God, and it's so damn depressing. What the crap? So yeah,
the ending's not depressing though. It has a good ending, I think.
It has a good ending. All the X's fall away.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think? What's the movie speaking to you?
Well, I think it's like, how cruelty is so poisonous, even to the person, who is committing it. Like, his when you're a kid, sometimes you don't realize, how bad the things you're doing are, or you just don't realize it. But when you get older, you look back and you're so embarrassed. You're like, man, why was I like that? And it makes it hard. It makes hard, to seek forgiveness, because in order to get forgiveness, you have to believe you're worthy of it. You have to learn to forgive yourself as well. And the more cruel, the worse you are, it makes it harder. That's why, I think he has such a hard time, connecting with people, because he doesn't believe he deserves it. He's like, what if I start, what if I slip back into that? What if I become too comfortable and if I become that cruel child again, and then end up regretting it even more. And I think the character who is the girl with the long black hair, her thing is she can't forgive herself, and so her solution is I'll just double down,
keep
and,
hating,
continue to be even more cruel, and then that way she feels even though it hurts her, she feels at least she deserves it, and she'll just she just takes it. But I think she does come around a little bit towards the end. Nobody can fucking can hold out for that long when somebody's just so forgiving and kind to you. Eventually you just have to admit that you're an asshole. But as long as you put in the effort and you really want to be better, you can, and you can put your cruelty, the things you do behind you, and try to be better.
Fuck yeah, man. Nicely put. What about hello? What?
You accidentally turn on a voice changer?
I don't know what that is, but it's coming. Who's not wearing headphones? Raise your hands. Okay. We'll blame Brooks. Drew, what about you? What's this movie speaking to you?
First of all, it's about how a lot of places in society aren't really built to handle disability. And you see that in the schools, which is true everywhere. Because it's oh, you just have to hope that a friend will write some notes for you, because the teachers aren't fully prepared to educate you. And then it's you're not able, nobody knows ASL or American Sign Language, let alone Japanese, to be able to, because reading lips is extraordinarily hard and it's guesswork. So and especially for a child, it's really difficult. So it's just incredibly hard, and that's even before the bullying, which is another thing that this movie really went into, and it's a complete failure from top to bottom, how to handle bullying, because it's the teacher was absolutely useless, and it happened in front of him until the principal got involved. And that's when he was like, "Oh, you were doing it," and completely useless. And then when he finally gets, and he's going to raise his hand that he was at fault as a kid, and then he gets told to stand up because he was the one doing it, and then he starts pointing fingers. Is like, "You all were there, like you all were complicit," and it's true. Like, and that's an
they didn't
issue.
do anything really. Like
And
any attempt to stop him was half-hearted at best.
Correct. Yeah, and it's like you either like talked bad about her behind her back. It's like you would join in, or you did nothing. Like the only girl to try it, Sahara, who like tried to like wanted to learn sign language, was like, "Hey, I'll help her out. You know what?" And she gets bullied to the point where she leaves. And then this poor girl gets started like 6 hearing aids either lost or broken, and the school did nothing until the mother made a call, and then the mother eventually goes to when Shoya's mom finds out, she loses it because turns out her son doing monstrous things, and goes to try and make amends, which is another major theme, because it's like, how much can you make amends? Are you allowed to make amends for certain things? And it's not shown, but it's heavily implied that Shoko's mom just hit the shit out of her, and like, because that's why her ear, like, in the earring was ripped out and was bleeding.
I almost got the idea. I thought she ripped her earrings out to be like,
yeah.
since he
I
ripped,
think she hurt herself.
Yeah.
In the like, from what I've read, because I did Google it, it's like it's not explicitly told, but from showing how physically violent Shoko's mom is, that's what's led to believe is like just bam and hit her, rip the earring out, and she just took it because it's like, I deserve that. And it's, or she may have ripped out just the one earring, but it's still and just the inability for people who have this deep depression to form connections is, and how that it's like, oh, well, you think you're doing well. Well, you just see this guy, you see this guy handed you some takoyaki, but it was the guy who bullied you. So it was like, nope, X is back up. It's like, nope, setbacks. It's like, cannot form that connection. I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
Nicely put. All right. For me, and I think everybody is completely valid and on the nose about what this movie is. Not even just underneath the nose, the mustache, but it's on the nose, right? Y'all got it. This movie to me is about connection. It's about communication. It's about how true communication is not words. True connection is not words. There's body language. There's connection involves so much more than just words. And sometimes we can think that the right words, the right audible sound will cure everything. If we could just explain ourselves, maybe we'll be understood and we can connect with someone. We realize that's not what happens. We lose a connection or never form a connection. And it leads us down a path where maybe we're in a self-destructive phase. It leads us down a path where maybe we're suicidal. It leads us down a path where maybe we're isolated, right? And what's going on is Shoko?
Shoya is the boy.
Oh,
Shoya has
They need to work on
spent
that.
most of his life at this point, at the beginning, at this film, like in a place where he hasn't connected with anybody. Do you know what I'm saying?
Just his family. That's about it.
Yeah, and Shoko. She's kind of in the same thing. Like, she's got family, but she's never connected with someone else. They want to connect with each other. You know, why is he a shit to her when he's like 10 or 11 years old? Well, because girls, when I was 10 or 11 years old, girls that had crushes on me, I acted like a shit too. Because that's what happens when you're that age, right? And you can feel bad about it, and he does, but like, he's not trying to change his life. He's not using it as a motivating impact to change life. He just dwells in self-pity about it. I'm a terrible fucking person. I'm a piece of shit. We all have those thoughts. We all have those thoughts all the time. And we have those thoughts because we can't connect with people. Because connection is not about words. Connection is about action. And he shows in this film growth because he starts acting. And one of the best visual cues to me in this movie is how many times she goes over the ledge and he cannot grab her in time. There's that moment where she dives into the bridge, right? He tries to grab her, but she just goes under, right? At the end, when that connection's really made, the connections that's more than words, but it's about action and emotion and feeling and care and love, then he can catch her. And he sacrifices himself for her. Luckily, he gets better. If I made this film, this motherfucker dies, and I want the audience to leave fucking crying. But I'm glad they gave us a little bit of hope because it's a heavy film. But to me, it's about connection. How much we long for connection with other people, how much we don't understand how to connect with other people. Because it's not about words. It's about action. It's about love. And sometimes we learn that too late. Sometimes we learn that just in time. Some people have known that their entire lives. But to me, this movie is about connection and how important it is and how so often we go about connecting with people the wrong way. Because it doesn't need to come from a selfish place. So many moments in this movie where he's like, or other characters are like, are you just wanting to make amends so that you feel better about yourself? Man, that's something you got to struggle with. I've recently had a situation in my life where I made amends with someone who was very close and dear to me. It's happened very recently. And I had to struggle with that. Am I doing this to make myself feel better, or am I doing it because I care about her? And true connection comes from understanding, not through words, but through every other bit. The vibration of someone, right? The vibration of sound that lets Shoko. God damn it. See, I hate doing these Japanese.
Shoya and Shoko.
Okay.
Or use her last name, Nishimiya.
Where was I? But the idea of like vibration is something important to her. She can feel it. Connection, communication is not. It's not such an abstract thing where it's just words out in the ether. It's very concrete. It is a feeling. It is a vibration. And if you need to make amends with someone, fucking do it. Because it makes you feel so good when it happens. Trust me. All right. So anyway, time to rate the film here on PCP Movie Night out of 5 possible you digs. Hammertime Holshoe, you picked it. So I'm assuming you're probably going to be one of the highest ratings tonight. Let's see what happens. Out of 5 you digs, you out there in the chat, let us know what you think about A Silent Voice. Hammertime Holshoe, kick us off.
5. No doubt. It's such an amazing film. It's so well put together. It's so beautiful. Music, the acting. I love the film, man. It's a 5 in my book. It's I can't fault it. It's one of my favorite films, period. Not just anime, just films in general. I love this film.
Fuck yeah. Jelani, what about you? Out of 5 you digs, what do you give A Silent Voice?
All right, John. Why you gotta start with 5, man? Cause I ain't harshing your mellow, man, but I'll give it a 4 or 5.
It's his pick. What do you expect?
It's good. It's very good. It's good, and it tells a very real story. This is grounded in reality, and it hurts, man, and it's weird that it feels like it hurts so deeply. So it gets me to a different level. I wasn't prepared for that. So and it's so, I don't know. I was already in a weird state, and I'm already watching this. I was like, put me in a weirder state. So it's good, but it's 4 or 5. So I could stick with
4 or 5. So that's amazing. So 20.
A 20 from Delaney. No, 4.5 from Delaney.
20.
What about you, Brooks? What do you give this one?
I'd give this one a 5 too. I was surprised how much I ended up liking this movie. Like I definitely want to revisit it down the line, I think. And like it just, I don't know. I really felt this movie, I guess, in a way I didn't expect. So yeah, I'd give this one a 5.
Fuck yeah. What about you, Drew? What do you think, Dashing you are?
Oh, you know it's going to be a 5 from me. As hard as I ride for this movie, absolutely. Because it hurts because it's true, because it's either things in this movie have happened to us, or we can easily understand it because as been young adults, been through the shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it hurts, and that's why it's important that it's displayed.
Yeah, 100%. All right. I don't want to break the trend and be a naysayer. I'm going to give this movie a 4.69.
Nice.
I would give it a 5 if it had, I don't know, 19 minutes shaved off of it.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm serious, man. If it was tighter, it would work for me a little bit better.
19 minutes and one dead kid. That's all you want.
Dude, if it had 19 minutes shaved off and one dead kid at the end, I probably would be like
6.
Oh, it's one of the greatest movies ever.
It's a masterpiece.
No, but I'll give it a 4.69, and only because I do think it just tracks a little bit at certain points. I think it's got some characters that pop in and don't ultimately have much of a purpose, except for to build a moment for like 5 minutes, not a moment, but like a vibe, a feel of togetherness, happy, doing things, going out, roller coastering and shit like that, right? I love this film. And here's the thing. This is what I love about PCP Movie Night. When we give movies 4.69s or 4.5s, we're like justifying it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We give the shittiest.
Perfectly
movie.
Great. Yeah.
I gave Reanimator a 5. What the fuck is wrong with me that I think that
Reanimator is a 5?
Yeah, Reanimator is a 5. You're right, Brooks. Like, but do I think Reanimator is a better movie than this? Yeah, because it gets in and gets the job done. This one just lingers a little bit. Everything else about it fucking is awesome. Also, if Barbara Crampton was in this fucking movie, it would be a 5. So a 4.69 from me, a 4.5 from Jelani, and a 5 from everybody else for a PCP average of 4.98. 69 dudes. Station. That's a really, really high rating. All right. Introspect M says 4.5 you digs for me. It was a smidge melodramatic, but that's part of this genre. And this was very, very well done. And then Cryo says it's a 5. I literally recommend this movie to everyone, not just my anime fans or friends. All right. So there you go. Thus concludes our look and review of John's pick, A Silent Voice. Next week, we're doing a movie that is equally as hard-hitting emotionally. This is Manny's pick. So Manny, I'm very proud of you for leaning into some of our successes here at PCP Movie Night. And we're going to be talking about the very nuanced, introspective movie, The Page Master, next week.
Hey. Let's go.
And I'm very excited for that. I haven't seen this movie since the VHS days, bro.
Yeah.
The video store. I have not seen this at this point 30-year-old fucking movie or something, man. I'm really looking forward to it. But before that, I'm going to be at Heroes Con this week. However, do check out Dylan's Horror Show because they're talking about The Fly and The Fly 2. That's the Cronenberg Fly and The Fly 2. I don't know why Dylan decided to do a double feature. He could have just done the Cronenberg Fly and he had a whole show. But he's doing The Fly 2. And you know what, John? It's got a little underappreciated, maybe a little bit, right?
I think the second one is
that Eric
got
Stoltz?
some cool. Yeah, it is Eric Stoltz. It's got some really cool concepts. And I think it's I like the film, man.
He's like, you know what? If they don't want me to be Marty McFly, I'll be The Fly. I just came up with that off the dome. So anyway, check out Dylan's Horror Show Saturday night when they talk about The Fly and The Fly 2, and be back here next week for PCP Movie Night. Manny's pick for Crew's Choice, The Page Master. We have 2 weeks left of Crew's Choice. We got Manny's pick and then Joe Corallo's pick, and then we're taking a break. Actually, we're not taking a break. We're going right into Action Fest. That lineup will be revealed on the next Rockin' Robbie Live, which is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. I'll send you the link, Drew, to the Action Fest stuff, and we can get everything prepared because we're going to have a good 5 weeks of Action Fest talking about I think we're talking about 11 films in 5 weeks. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Boy.
It's a good lineup. We got some Chuck Norris in there, and we got a Kung Fu Hong Kong film in there. So it's going to be a good one. That lineup will be coming. Anyway, John, thank you for being here. Thank you for picking this movie. Final thoughts?
I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope the people watching who haven't seen it give it a spin, man. It's a great film. There's a lot of great anime films on there that I think there's more than Akira and Ghost in the Shell. Okay, and we're going to review that. There's more
than
coming
just
up.
action.
We're going to do some other films sooner than later. That I hope you guys are ready for more emotional roller coasters.
All right, Jelani, thank you for being here, man. Final thoughts?
Yeah, great pick. I was shocked that it came and at the time it did. So thanks, John, you moron. Really appreciate it.
Baka.
Language.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Brooks and I do Go Figure reviews, of course. Last week we did Brooks's Amiibos, and we did Black Pit. This week we might be doing Blade this time, and the Marvel Select Blade, and
more dangerous things outside
probably the Idol Hero Skeletons.
Well, good. I hope you upgrade
right.
your internet before then.
Blade.
Blade.
That won't happen.
Blade.
And this is the funny part. I paid for very expensive.
Nice them with the edge of the blade.
That's right. That's
Brooks,
right.
thank you for being here. Final thoughts?
Just if this movie teaches anything, it's just be kind to people, especially people who have it like harder than you do. And just try to be a good guy or gal, respectively.
Hell yeah. Or a non-guy, non-gal.
Yeah, or whatever,
Whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Just whatever the fuck you want to be, just be a good person.
Yeah, just be a good version of whatever.
Drew, you're one of the best people I know, man. Why don't you tell us your final thoughts? And thank you so much for joining us for PCP Movie Night.
No problem, man. Anytime. And yeah, if you've learned anything through watching, and some say suffering, it's like I put through the emotional ringer. It's don't go out of your way to be mean, especially like you don't know what somebody is going through. And that's the easiest thing in the world, is just to not be a jackass. And I preach that to everyone, and I will continue to do so.
Well, fuck yeah. I like what you said there. Don't go out of your way to be mean, but also don't go out of your way to be miserable. Right?
Absolutely.
Love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you truly love yourself, that's when you make connections. Because as RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love someone else? So I guess we can end it with that, except for check out Dylan's Horror Show Saturday night. The Fly 2, the Eric Stoltz, Marty McNaught Anti-Fly. And then next week, another nuanced film, The Page Master. Man, this is going to be a fun show next week, man. I cannot wait to rewatch that one. I'm surprised he didn't pick that fucking Shaq movie or whatever.
Shazam.
Yeah, whatever it was.
God.
Shaq Fu.
Shazam.
Is it Kazam? Not Shazam. That's different.
Kazam.
Shazam? I just agreed with it too. I was like, yeah, Shazam.
Yeah, close enough.
That's a fucking the next Mandela effect. Be like, you remember when Shaq was in Shazam?
Well, people thought that a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad happened back in the day.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's not what happened. So anyway.
Not
Don't
in
worry,
this world.
Shaq Fest coming up soon. We'll be talking about Steel. We'll be talking about Shaq Fu, the video game.
We're gonna beat Shaq Fu.
Yeah, dude. We better beat fucking Friday the 13th on NES before we beat Shaq Fu. Come on, y'all. I'm telling y'all, start
We're gonna
studying.
beat that fucking
We
game.
can do it, man. Watch the goddamn shit. We can fucking do it. before I die, can we beat that game, please? John, will you do some study, please? Like, let's just beat this game. I've
You
seen
have to do like a
people
Rocky
study
style
this.
fucking training montage to beat that fucking game.
It also has little to do with Friday the 13th. Like Jason shows up, but the rest of it does not. What the fuck?
It's camp
game's
counselors
Yeah.
trying to protect kids from Jason, brother. It's
Well,
Jason.
what else is
Woods.
trying to kill you? They're like birds or something. What the fuck? There's other things.
Oh, whatever. You're picking and choosing now, man. You're
Cheese and
nitpicking.
birds.
All right. All right. We're dipping out, y'all. Station. Pop, pop. Boom.